Every day you eat. 7 billion people around the world are doing the same. Food is not only a source of energy, it's a big part of our way of life, our traditions, and culture. It brings joy and satisfaction into our lives. Just think about having your friends and family around you, sharing your favorite meal. And we all have our soft spots when it comes to food. Be it a bag of potato crisps, a prime ribeye steak, or a juicy passion fruit. By 2050, another 2 billion people will join the ranks of daily food consumers. And this poses some serious questions. Where will all this food come from? Will everyone have access to it? But most importantly, will you still be able to enjoy your favorite meals? We have all heard the tales of how modern ways of eating are bad for the planet, about the danger of losing biodiversity and altering food crops, about the amounts of water and land it takes to produce a single piece of meat, or how soon we will have more plastic in the ocean than fish. We get it. Our own world is in danger. But those are all big global problems, and you are just one person. But how much of a problem is really what you eat? Can your burger really be blamed for global warming? Well, the answer is yes. Your food choices matter a lot.
About 25% of carbon emissions come from food. This means that food is one of the main causes of climate change.
Meet Angus McKay, who has been working on global environmental problems for over 25 years. He is the director for the Division of Planet at the United Nations Institute for Training and Research.
Different types of food have different impacts on our environment. They have different impacts on the amount of carbon that our societies generate. So you take a kilogram of beef, for example, that actually uses about 15,000 litres of water to produce. Now, if you take the same kilogram but of potatoes, it's a fraction of that. It's about 250 litres. Another way to look at the impact of the food that we eat is to look at its carbon intensity. So fruit and veg have a relatively low carbon intensity, kilogram of carbon for a kilogram of fruit and veg. Dairy products, a little bit more, about 4 kilograms. Beef, lamb, different types of meat, much higher. So beef is around about 20.
What changes should we then make to our diets to help reducing climate change?
I think being a vegetarian is probably, on balance, a good idea for the planet, but not everyone is ready for that. And of course, meat has other benefits. So there, you can make a difference by cutting down on the amount of meat that you eat, or by switching from beef to chicken or fish.
There's a direct link between food and major environmental problems, like deforestation, water scarcity, endangered species, and plastic pollution. As the human population has increased, more and more land has been turned into land for grazing or crops, often at the expense of nature.
Let's take an apple. What's the story behind this apple? How is it produced? How is it stored? How is it transported? All of these are important questions. This apple might be relatively benign in terms of its environmental impact. Other apples, not so. So it really matters, and it really is important to understand the process.
The way food is produced matters, and not just for the health of plants and animals, it also affects people. Trade in food is growing, and work productivity has increased. Yet, according to the International Labour Organization, agricultural workers continue to be at the bottom rung of the rural poverty ladder, and even below the minimum subsistence level. Many are seasonal workers, living in precarious working conditions and little or no social protection. In some developing countries, child labor is as much as 30% of the workforce, and agriculture is a dangerous line of work, with workers suffering higher rates of accidents or injury. Pesticide poisoning, for example, is a particularly prevalent danger.
It's true that there is a link between the health of the planet, if you think about it in terms of climate change and greenhouse gas emissions, and the health of individuals. Some of the choices that we can make to reduce the effect of climate change could actually also have a very beneficial effect on personal nutrition and your own health. Take the example of pesticides. This is one of the classics. Obviously pesticides in their whole production cycle generate a lot of carbon. So that's bad for the planet. But also, if you have high concentrations of pesticides in your fruit and vegetables, it's bad for you as well. So very often, these are absolute win-win types of scenarios. Human health and planetary health.
Now, remember the first question from the beginning of this video? Do your choices matter? What can you do? Well, in this course, we will show you exactly that. What are some of the little ways in which you can help solve major problems like obesity epidemics and climate change? We'll give you tips and ideas to prompt your creativity and reflection on various issues related to food. Your choices matter to you, to those around you, to local farmers and communities across the world. They matter to honeybees, to sea turtles, to earthworms, to crocodiles, and yes, of course, to polar bears. And don't forget, your choices matter to people that you will never meet, just as their choices affect you.
So education and information will make a real difference. The combination of the two will enable you to make better choices about the food that you eat, and also maybe influence others around you.